Welcome to Lane County, Kansas. We are in western Kansas. We're about 4 counties over from Colorado, right in the central part of the state. And this is one of the least populated counties in Kansas and has an interesting history. It took a while for it to kind of get developed. Kansas became a state in 1861, and most of this area out here was not organized. And so Lane County became organized in 1873, but wasn't fully formed until 1886 because of different, changes in boundaries. But originally there were buffalo and Indians out here. And then, as the railroad and kind of buffalo hunters came out here, there were certainly, disagreements about who should be here. But it was a very harsh area to try to live in. The Homestead Act of 1862 in Kansas, had people come out here and they tried to make a living. They made sod houses because there wasn't a lot of materials. There wasn't a lot of places to farm that were real good. And so there was actually even a song sang, the Lane County Bachelor, if you've ever heard that song. It's kind of an old Western song. It was about Lane County, Kansas. And so kind of got an interesting history. The Texas Cattle Trail came through here, and that was very helpful. It came right through this area, and we're going to talk about that in another one of the former towns. It's now unincorporated or ghost town. There are some, ghost towns that we're going to find today. Today, we're going to explore more the northern kind of half. Route 96 goes through the middle of the county, so we're going to stay north of 96 today. And then in the next, videos, we'll go south, on 96 and south of 96. Dighton is the county seat, sits right in the middle, and we'll talk about Dighton in another video. Let's get out. We'll start exploring around and finding some of these ghost towns, unincorporated communities. I found a map with a bunch of schools on it, so we'll see if we can find any old schools, if any of them are still standing, and I'm sure we'll see a few cemeteries along the way too. I often get questions about how much research I do on these videos, and so I thought I would stop here, even though there hasn't been much on the video yet, and tell you that I've been trying to go to a bunch of places, and there's been nothing there. I found some old maps from the early 1900s that had a bunch of schools on it, marked them on my map, and have been searching around where they used to be, and there's nothing out here. It's really beautiful. The dirt roads, gravel roads are pretty good. But for your sake, I travel all these back roads, condense it down to a few seconds, especially if there's nothing to see. But so I thought, I'd been in Lincoln County a while back. You might have watched those videos. You saw a bunch of old schools that were made of that post-rock limestone, and they are still standing. But I'm assuming maybe the old schools were maybe built out of wood or something and haven't lasted as long, because there used to be schools all throughout here. Every few miles there were schools, and there's certainly, I haven't found any yet, and there's about a half a dozen on my map. So if you're ever wondering about that, I do research and I try to find some places, but we will find some interesting places throughout the day. Just haven't found anything yet. I've come in from outside in the heat. It's gonna be a hot day, 100 degrees today here in Lane County, but I'm inside the post office for Healy. And I believe this is probably the second largest community in Lane County behind the county seat of Dighton. And it's kind of interesting. I'm here on a Sunday, and places like this are pretty much closed. Any businesses that are here are gonna be closed on Sundays. But Healy was actually the last stop on the railroad in 1887 as it was coming west in this county. So it was very important. And when that happened, it grew. And there was a couple hundred people that lived here in the early 1900s and built up to a very important part of this county. And today, now it's just kind of more remote. So places like this, there's not as much need to be living in the town. Actually, I talked to someone over at the school. There's a grade school here, and this is the last year of the school. And she was out there mowing and kind of taking care of the maintenance around the school, and told me about it. And there's only like 10 students left, and so they're going to be heading to different schools in the county or even the next county over. And so it's sad. Literally, it's the last year of the school being open before it closes down, and that's just another tough thing for towns like this. And so if you're a family and you've got kids, you're probably going to move to the county seat if you're going to live in this area, or going to be closer, because some of the kids are going. She said you can go any school you want to, basically, and some of the schools are pretty far away. So you're going to move closer to those towns if you have a family, and that's important to be more convenient to where they're going to go to school. So, but there are other businesses here. There's a big seed company, a couple stores. There's a bar and grill. But like I said, on Sundays, everything is closed. And it's definitely a lonely main street, but interesting place to visit. Right around here, it's different than some of the other places. Really flat in some of the earlier videos you've seen, but it's getting hillier up here in the more northern part of the county. There was a town or a community called Farnsworth, and had a post office from in the 1880s to in the teens, in the 19-teens. Roads are getting a little rockier, so we're trying to be careful. Don't get a flat tire. I've had that happen before, as you might have seen. But it's different too. There's some trees. A lot of this area doesn't have trees. You can see how hard it would have been to farm here. And yeah, so used to be a community here, but nothing since over 100 years ago. Shields is a ghost town, and actually had a post office all the way till 1994. And when you get here, you can definitely see the remnants, behind me there of more lucrative days, I'm sure, for this community. But yeah, it was a stop on the railroad. There was different townships that the railroad stopped, and this was for, I think it was called Wilson Township, and this was kind of the center of that township, and had a school and a church and a general store, and actually had a hotel. And the railroad no longer exists through here, and now there's just a couple houses and a lot of abandoned buildings, but some really great, that grain elevator is picturesque, to say the least, if you like taking pictures of old things like that. So Yeah, interesting stop right along Highway 4 here in kind of the northeastern, getting towards the northeastern part of the county. There's the school. Kind of a nightmare of a church right there, and it's appropriate we're on Elm Street. FYI, if you're exploring out in 100-degree weather in Lane County, you might need some bug spray, man. There are a lot of insects that will like to annoy you, especially when you're trouncing around cemeteries and things that have high grass, so just be forewarned. Up in the northern edge of the county here, actually we're going to eventually be on a road that is right on the county line, and we're not far from Castle Rock. Castle, you know, when you get out to western Kansas, it's a lot different than most people think of Kansas, and I, about a year or two ago, did a video about all these different rock formations in Kansas, and I named it Kansas Rocks. And I thought that was clever, but not a lot of people watched it, so maybe not. So anyways, we're not far from Castle Rock, which is in the next county up. And so if you're ever in this area, just know that a little bit of more back roads and you can get to one of the cooler places in Kansas. I think we may have found an old school here in Pendennis, and we're kind of piecing together the history of the county, northern part of the county along the railroad here. And I mentioned how there was Healy in the one township, and then Shields, that was the next township, kind of main stop for the railroad. And this is White Rock Township, and this is Pendennis, and this was where the railroad was here. There was originally a post office in the area called DuPont, and it got moved over here. Originally this town was called Dennis, and then there was another Kansas town named Dennis, I guess. And so like 12 days after they named it Dennis, they changed it to Pendennis, which is a novel from the 1800s. There was a novel called Pendennis, and so that was an easy way to change it, but also keep the connection with Dennis. And you know, interesting, things are kind of spread out where you can see where the railroad used to be, and like the school is here, The railroad's up there, and then down the way there's some older buildings kind of on the western side of Pendennis. And so kind of interesting. The post office went until about the 1950s, but there was never a big population in this part of the county. And in fact, just about a mile to the south there's a White Rock Cemetery. I'm guessing that was a cemetery kind of for the whole area. So but yeah, awesome find, checking out the old, I'm guessing, schoolhouse here in Pendennis. We're ending up our day here at the Lane County State Lake, and it's not a typical lake like you would see at a lot of counties. They originally created this area to try to pump water from a well, and it just didn't go, I think, the way they had hoped, and it was inefficient. There was just not a lot of rain, and so there wasn't a lot of water. It evaporated quickly, and the soil was very porous, and so they abandoned that. And then they did find a couple years ago that there was still water in the well here, and so they tried to use that to flood an area for migratory birds. So this is kind of a nature area now. I think there might be some hunting. There's a lot of hunting signs everywhere around this county, but yeah, so this is maybe a fitting end because, man, they worked hard to try to create something out of not much here. And I felt like today I was exploring and not finding things, and then all of a sudden found a few things here and there that were interesting. But yeah, Lane County really kind of made me work for it today, but I did enjoy it. There were some great little ghost towns, and learning about the railroad, how it went through, and some really beautiful areas with the rocks, and the different hilly areas on the northern side of the county. So yeah, it was a very enjoyable day, and I got a lot of dirt and dust on the rental vehicle, but yeah, excited to check out tomorrow what we have in store for day 2 in the southern part of Lane County. Hey, you made it all the way to the end of the video. And now that you're here, let me tell you a little bit more about all the other things going on this channel. If you want to become a member, you can become a member on either Patreon or YouTube memberships. There's 3 different levels, and as you are on a different level, there's more and more things, behind the scenes videos, different things that you're going to be able to gain access to. Make sure you check out my website, travelwithawiseguy.com. There's a whole bunch of new stuff on there. There's a merchandise link with some new cool merchandise. There's a newsletter that you can sign up for. About every 3 weeks I send out a new newsletter that's free. I have Google Maps, which has documented every place that I've made a video about, and you can click on there and you can go to the map and you can find the videos that I made, and it's all in one very convenient place. There's lots and lots of other stuff on there, so make sure to check out the website and explore all around what I've got going on. But once again, thank you so much for watching this video, and now on to the real reason that you're at the end of this video. the outtakes. Healy, school's closing, but we'll see how the wheel of death spins. It's got a lot of life left in it.